बीपीओ वर्ड बोलते ही ऐसा लगता था मैंने कुछ गाली दे दी है वहाँ पे, राइट? लाइक एवरीवन वाज लाइक, ओह ये क्या बोल रहा है, लाइक everyone just wanted to run away from that meeting, right? And I think by you guys actually running this business yourself and having that context, I think you understood it much more deeply. So enterprise भी दुखी है, the agents who are doing the work वो भी दुखी हैं, end customers तो बहुत ही दुखी हैं. Our AI today has crossed that inflection point, in my opinion, where AI is truly beating or matching the human performance in 50% of our traffic and 50% of the overall market from that 5-10% niche, right?
We are super excited to have now shift positions from a defender to attacker, where we can actually be the ones along with you guys who then massively innovate and disrupt the industry versus trying to figure out how to save ourselves in legacy systems.
So the DNA of this is very different from a typical VC fund, right? I think you guys have you're investing from your balance sheet, etc. So I think that kind of thinking from the beginning was not at all ever thinking. I think when your evaluation, even the terms that we negotiated in our SHA was not about कि next round कब होगा. It was about कि how do we build an iconic company that can truly outlast all of us.
We lure founders in, showing food, and then ask all the questions.
Yeah, that's why the podcast is called Brunch Labs. And there's food here.
The mindset that Pankaj and I share is the founder's baby, right?
Right.
If we had the drop in revenue,
Right.
the person who would lose the sleep the most
Right,
is the
right.
founding team.
Correct,
right? And
correct.
we understand that.
Right.
And that is why our job is
Right.
to support the team.
Right.
SquadStack.ai is an AI-native sales and CX platform built on a simple belief: telecalling and inside sales can be revolutionized with AI-driven conversational superintelligence. They began in 2021 with a remote telecalling outsourcing platform powered by thousands of human agents, supported by an AI co-pilot for agent assistance, quality monitoring, and ROI optimization. This human+AI model helped 40+ leading consumer brands drive better outcome across sales, support, collections, and workforce management. At BII, we believed in this vision early and led their Series B. Today, Apurv and team are pushing towards superhuman performance with real-time sentiment analysis, adaptive tone, dynamic rebuttals, and context-aware decisioning. Welcome to a new Brunch Labs episode, where Pankaj and Rohit from BII sit down with Apurv to explore how SquadStack.ai is building the contact center of the future.
Great, yeah. So SquadStack is basically an AI native contact center where we help enterprises with sales primarily, and along with that support, collections, and some of those use cases. With a combination of AI and human in the loop. So 50% of our traffic is driven by humans and 50% is driven by AI. And overall net, we are able to drive the superior outcomes at 5x net lower cost, which is, I think, the most exciting thing for enterprises, of course. And
Tell us what got you into this, how you started this journey. That is the fun part.
Absolutely. Yeah. So basically, I think right after COVID, we saw this very interesting trend ki, contact centers. First of all, I have never worked in the contact center industry, or BPO word bhi nahi pata tha mere ko. But we realized ki yaar, enterprises, of course, every enterprise or every business has a problem, regardless of their size, that they need to communicate with their customers, their stakeholders, and wo jo communication that needs to be driven, that has to, of course, be really high outcome and highly efficient, right? Because that...
Did you face this issue earlier?
So in a very small way, when I was a founding member in 91 Springboard, and I was the rep in a way also, right? Because we were just 2-3 people in the beginning. Yeah. And I realized here, and I was a very high agency, I like to think I'm a very high agency person, and I realized here I was also quite bad at when leads will come, I'll not probably follow up or not do, not call them very quickly, etc. And so I realized that there is a lot of efficiency gap. And then when we looked at the industry, we realized it's one of the largest markets in the world, roughly $400 billion. India is also $20 billion. Crores of people in India domestically serve these kind of use cases. And we realized but there was really no innovation that had happened in the last 2-3 decades, right? Like first innovation we only as Indians did. We said ki yaar, there's this concept of outsourcing. You can outsource this, where highly efficient companies can outsource these processes, and we started this in India. And of course, India invented in a way the BPO market, right? And but then there was really no innovation that had happened beyond just basic dialers, etc. And then we felt that there is a very interesting opportunity where we can drive there's a term called digital transformation that enterprises really like to use 5 years back. And the idea was that how can every decision in enterprise be driven by data and tech, right? Like how we build startups. And then we realized कि यार the whole digital transformation goes to that in the contact center, because काफी it was very human heavy, very process heavy. There was really, मतलब forget tech and AI, there was really just no data also. So we and I was literally spending time in the beginning. I remember I was sitting in like Kotak and Axis वगैरह के floors with these agents, like उनके साथ छुट्टा उट्टा मारा, देखा कि क्या कर रहे हैं वो लाइफ में. And I realized कि यार बहुत inefficient है. मतलब literally one person would make like 3 files a day. आधे दिन तो वो wait ही कर रहा है बेचारा, right? So we realized that there is a lot of मतलब it's highly unoptimized, and we felt there's a lot of opportunity. But I think one thing that we were also very clear about, that we wanted to use and apply all the tech, but we didn't want to just sell the tech itself, right? Because we've generally, I believe that model sometimes breaks, right? Because I think if your tech is really so great, then why don't you apply it yourself and build a full stack offering, right?
And sell solutions.
Exactly, sell solutions and a full stack system itself, right? And so we directly started competing with large BPOs like Teleperformance, Concentrix, etc. And we started telling enterprises that there is a different way to do things. And we introduced system thinking into this whole thing, right? Like that how can like every work, so like for example all the leads that come, then all those leads how can you intelligently think how to which lead to reach out, when to reach out, which channel to use, what to say to them, and that all piece ultimately led us to understand that okay, there is a lot of opportunity in tech managing leads, tech managing these resources. We decentralized this whole thing as well, where people from Vijayawada to Kashmir could join the platform and do the work, represent brands like Axis or Eureka Forbes. And then I think we also evolved with
this thing that you mentioned just now. I remember when we first met, while we are talking about how there was no innovation in BPO, there were 2-3 things which were completely broken on the supply side.
Correct.
And I remember when we first met, the thing that really struck a chord with me was how we were completely variabilizing the supply
structure.
side, breaking the cost structures. And that also made us into a product and a tech first company. Do you want to touch upon that? Because I thought that was the real exciting part, the first.
Absolutely. And in fact, I would say that is a very natural evolution. I think a very favorite word of VCs is agentic right now, right? And that's a very natural evolution to agentic also. I think the step one is, can you actually have all the data, right? And data leads to obviously analysis and analytics, and analytics then has now evolved into agentic and AI as well. So absolutely the thought process was, how do we make things data driven and systemize things, make it predictable, and translate that into a business model, which, as you said, which can variabilize the cost structures and make it a lot more lucrative for enterprises. They can scale up and down. So so that was definitely the beginning.
As you Apurv, as you saw massive amount of issues and inefficiency in the call center business, what did you do?
Right. I think I would just want to double down on the inefficiency or problem itself, right? Agar aap socha hai na, who among all of us enjoyed the last time talking to a support interaction or sales interaction, right? So there were a lot of issues. First of all, the issues was ki yaar, no one even thinks about the end customer, right? Jaise marketing mein we have done so much innovation ki yaar, everyone will get personalized ads, etc. Contact center mein there is really just no innovation at all. The experience of the end lead is really terrible. On the enterprise side, the systems don't talk to each other. The people who work in these call centers, unfortunately, the way the industry has has evolved. We have not even caught up to inflation rates in their salaries in the last 20 years, right? So it led to a really kind of transient industry where these people who are working in contact center, they actually do not even want to work in there. Like, it's not that they're changing jobs, they're just changing the whole role itself, right? And they were treated a little badly, and they're literally putting brakes on at the time you can go to washroom. So it was essentially like and all of this is leading to insane retention, right? I think we were just talking to a founder who was here, and then it's a big founder problem. It's a top priority, because if my contact center is broken, my sales is broken. So how will I ensure my growth, right? So enterprise bhi dukhi hai, the agents are doing the work, wo bhi dukhi hai, end customers to bahut hi dukhi hai. So we realized there is a lot of innovation that we can do by first again systemizing all of this stuff and variabilizing these things and doing things through data. The second thing that naturally also happened, thanks to some of the developments that happened at the level of NVIDIA and GenAI coming in, that we were sitting on billions of interactions that we had essentially leveraged a lot of tech and AI to manage both the leads and the resources, right? Because if someone in Vijayawada, I can't tap her and tell ki bhai ye kar de. I had to use tech to say ki bhai this is what you have to do. I had to use tech to analyze the kind of work they're doing. Is it good enough or is it bad? So that all tech we essentially that ended up building, which is the first version of Copilot of this industry, that enabled us to again have all of this data, which now has very beautifully evolved to agentic now, right? Because like for example, our AI right now, and I think the big news right now is that our AI today has crossed that inflection point, in my opinion, where AI is truly beating or matching the human performance in 50% of our traffic and 50% of the overall market from that 5-10% niche, right? And obviously when it does that, it does it with 5x plus lower cost and all the efficiencies that AI gives you. And the big reason why we have been able to really crack it is because, as an example, our AI exactly sounds like contact center people, right? It doesn't sound like a YouTuber in the US because our data is trained by real contact center data, right? So I think that has become a big superpower. And I think that was, of course, we'll talk about this. I think that was a journey also. And I think when you guys invested also, I think the hope was this will happen. So I'm very glad that it is happening finally, and it's very exciting.
I mean, we've talked about it before. Bertelsmann has been an owner of a fairly large call center business, and we've had that business for decades. Earlier under a brand called Arvato. And I think fairly early on, I would say somewhere around early 2010s, 2015 period, I think all of us knew that technology is going to disrupt call centers. Whether the form of agentic will come in, etc. Of course, a lot of those things were not very clear. But we knew disruption was coming. And Bertelsmann had a fairly large call center business on a global basis. It was called Arvato earlier. And I think it was the foresight of Bertelsmann that while we were running that business, we saw that disruption was coming. We understood what the inefficiencies, etc. there were. And we decided that we need to find the right home for that business. So we, of course, ended up with a partnership with the Saham Group, where we merged the two entities, their call center business, our call center business, and that became Majorel. And eventually we ended up selling that business to Teleperformance. So I think that was a good home for that business. And I think in one way, that timing of that sale very nicely coincided with massive shifts that are happening with this industry. And while we on our side were the defenders of that business at that time and no longer defenders, and I think Teleperformance and others will have to be the defenders there, you are building the attacker of that business.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
And I think we are super excited to have now shift positions from a defender to attacker, where we can actually be the ones along with you guys who then massively innovate and disrupt the industry versus trying to figure out how to save ourselves in legacy systems.
Exactly. No, and I think that was great, Pankaj. I remember the first time we met also. I think the insight that you folks brought in because of that understanding was really beautiful, because I'll be very candid with you guys ki maybe in the like the earliest form of our inner journey, right? When we would go to VCs and tell them, yeah, we want to build like a whole new tech driven BPO वर्ड बोलते ही ऐसा लगता था मैंने कुछ गाली दे दी है वहाँ पे, right? Like everyone was like, oh, ये क्या बोल रहा है? Like, you know, everyone just wanted to run away from that meeting, right? And I think by you guys actually running this business yourself and having that context, I think you understood it much more deeply. Yeah.
Yeah, I think what we were able to very nicely decipher as part of diligence was the whole breaking up of the structures at the back end in a call center.
Correct.
Why that was so meaningful and disruptive, whereas as legacy players we can't even think of doing that.
Correct.
And and what we realized while having that conversation, that this is not a incremental innovation, it is a massive disruptive innovation. I think because of our global knowledge and know-how and relationships in the sector, we could understand this and appreciate this a lot better, hopefully, than a lot of other people. And I think this is the conversation that Rohit and I had multiple times when we were doing the diligence. And in fact, we spoke to the Arvato India CEO. We went through, and the global one also, and we went through the cost structure with them to say, this is the cost structure which you have. This is the cost structure that this company aims to have. This is what they are breaking. This is what they're bringing to technology. Can you change that? And they said no. We will not be able to change it. And then we knew we had to back.
Amazing, great. This is the first time I know this part also.
We do a lot of hard work.
That I knew. I think when we were fundraising, I think we were very conscious about what kind of partner we wanted to bring in, and we've been grateful to actually have really good investors. We had several top founders. We had Bloom and Chirate in the cap table, and Venkatesh from Chirate especially is one of the strongest SaaS B2B global investors. But then we really wanted a partner who can really help us navigate deep marketplace economics, help us with stronger global expansions, and I think like that. So we had almost, honestly, I'm telling you, we had built a persona internally, and yeah, in the right time, I think we met with Rohit, and we really enjoyed, and I'm sure people have talked about this. Rohit has this style where he does a 2-hour first conversation, which itself is very impressive, right? Because he's willing to take that leap of faith कि ठीक है मैं directly आ रहा हूँ तो 2 hours I'm wanting to go deep, and his rapid fires and all, which a lot of that I think we were able to answer, but a lot of that we were not able to answer, but we were so impressed by the kind of thinking he had, and he was also very clear कि यार it's okay even if you don't know all the answers, but at least are you willing to try to figure it out, and what are the third, fourth order implications of these things that you're talking about. So I think that was something that was, I think that early excitement was very high, that okay, this looks like a very good fit. I think the second thing that really resonated, and again thanks to Rohit and Pankaj who are really passionate about Bertelsmann. They gave me a whole like long download on Bertelsmann, and I think a very big difference is that ultimately this entity BII ultimately rolls up into a large organization, right? Like a Bertelsmann group, and you guys ultimately reporting into a CEO of that massive group, right? So the DNA of this is very different from a typical VC fund, right? I think you guys have you're investing from your balance sheet, etc. So I think that kind of thinking from the beginning was not at all ever thinking. I think when your evaluation, even the terms that we negotiated in our SHA was not about कि next round कब होगा. It was about कि how do we build an iconic company that can truly outlast all of us, right? And I think Bertelsmann, of course, wants to ideally hold their shareholding companies for 100+ years, right? So I think that is something that we were also very romantic about, that whenever we've Kanika, Vikas and I are very clear that we want to build this where it outlasts all of our lifetimes, right? So I think that fitment was really fun also. So I think these were the two things that we really enjoyed. And
how has been the journey after after the investment? Has that relationship been similar or very different?
No, very similar. I think that is again.
We had a very interesting start to our journey
Correct.
also.
Correct. Very interesting start to the journey. And actually, the last point I'll tell you. So we had multiple term sheets when we were choosing the partner, thankfully. And that time I remember ki Rohit ke saath I had a call, and Rohit told me ki yaar Apurv, listen. There are 4 problems with your company right now, right? It looks extremely attractive with all the metrics, but again, Bertelsmann, as you said, has done a lot of hard work and gone very deep and precisely told me the top 4 problems that was exactly in my mind, which honestly, as a founder, I had done a good job to try and hide. But really,
To other investors.
right. And like really strategic, deep problems, right? And he knew that short term we'll have to disrupt ourselves. Like as a simple example, we had at that time we had we had primarily gone after very large startups, and we had a lot of revenue from there. We were trying to solve really complicated things beyond earlier simpler kind of use cases through the model. Our whole supply model had to evolve. So I think what I really loved is that I felt like, okay, this is a partner who is coming completely with their eyes wide open. And in fact, we had a huge, right after the investment, we had a significant revenue drop, right? And that also, I would say any new investor would have probably really freaked out and really, maybe like it could have been disruptive to the whole company. But I think Rohit was very like, well, why do we care about this? Why are you even focusing on the revenue for the next month right now? Because there are strategic challenges. Let's solve for those strategic challenges, and then revenue will be a machine that will come. And thankfully, it is happening.
I remember that conversation. The first thought that truly occurred to me was that if this were to happen,
Right.
it's great that it happened in the first month.
Right.
Because we have all the capital that we could have.
Correct.
And we did a good size round, which was great.
Correct.
And we have all the time to fix it.
Correct.
There is no point getting this revenue back for the sake of it, because we need to structurally solve things.
Correct.
I remember 2-3 times over 2-3 months we had this conversation.
Absolutely. Correct.
Don't worry about next quarter's this thing, because the game is much bigger.
Correct.
The goal is much bigger.
Correct.
And every startup actually goes through these journeys, which by the way you have also seen, right? I think, but the way the whole org gathered around that was super impressive is what I would say, and there is more to add there.
Right.
But I remember those conversations very interestingly.
Right. Yeah. And again, like I think every BII founder will talk about this, that there are like these long workshops that that Rohit and Pankaj love to do with great food. That is the biggest value prop for sure.
We lure founders in, showing food, and then ask all the questions.
Yeah, that's why the podcast is called Brunch Labs, and there's food here.
Correct, absolutely. And then again, like, while you guys are European, Europe entity, and then global in your views, but you're full Delhi in your hospitality, right? So I think and again, I think I want to reiterate that point, right? I think for a growth VC to come and tell the CEO and the leadership ki I don't even want to listen about my top line for the next 2 quarters, and I want to fix all the strategic issues, is genuinely like, I think, putting really action to words, right? I think it's cheap to just say, yeah, we are long term and things like that, but I think truly coming and being able to do that is something that thank you, Rohit, for doing that. Yeah,
and we have reaped the rewards actually.
Absolutely.
So kudos to Vikas, Kanika, and you and the team that pulled around it. It is also, in fact, you mentioned firstly, about the questions that we ask, second, third order, about the hiccups. In fact, more than anything, the DNA that we have is, see, most founders would think this way on how an investor would react to this growth investor. And of course, there are pressures, internal, external, on investors. But at the end of the day, the mindset that Pankaj and I share is the founder's baby, right? If we had the drop in revenue, the person who would lose the sleep the most is the founding team. And we understand that. Right. And that is why our job is to support the team. Right. And hence, the way I think that you guys internalize that, you also were not trying to focus on the next fundraise or the next board meeting or having an easy conversation. The way with which I remember it, you, Vikas, Kanika would completely then, when we got into this dissecting conversations, what are the things that need to be, the depth and honesty of those conversations. The way we restructured not just org but our product.
Absolutely.
I think that was quite impressive for us also, and that was exactly the desired agenda. And that is where we then had that marvelous 15 to 18 months also that followed since then. From there to here, and I think that all kudos to you guys.
Right. Thank you so much. Thank you.
So what's happening with the company? There's a lot happening in your industry.
Right.
Your industry is one of the most vibrant industry right now.
Absolutely. From the most boring.
From the most boring, it's become the most vibrant industry.
Correct.
What's happening with the industry and how are you placing yourself in it?
Right. So I think this itself was interesting, right? I think that we entered the industry when it was very boring, and thanks to backers like you guys who also loved boring problems, entered into it, right? I think same thing. I think something which is so vibrating, I think then you're probably too late into it, right? So I think by being in the industry very deeply and working with enterprises, understanding all the stakeholders, working with also, so we evolved our model from people who were individuals into the model to also like fleet owners, analogy to Uber, where we have small BPOs plugged into our platform. And then of course in the last 1 year has been all about AI autonomously doing everything, right? So I think just having the context, having those relationships, having those deep integrations, positioning ourselves very strongly as a tech partner to our enterprises, like rather than a workforce or a labor provider. I think all of those things have really fundamentally helped. Even in the world of AI, as a simple example, I would say what we learned very hard is that the only thing that matters for an enterprise is outcomes, right? Okay, if you're doing a contact center, are you reducing the CAC? Are you improving my ROI? Are you improving my customer experience CSAT? They don't really care if after a point they don't care it's AI or human or Elon Musk who is calling, they don't care, right? The end of that is the outcomes matter. So I think that the platform is built around driving those outcomes. So today, when rather than like some human sitting in Vijayawada or in Noida, if an AI is doing the interaction, that statement has not changed, right? Like even if the interaction is great, it doesn't really matter till the time it actually improves my CAC and the other key pieces of the stack, right? So I think, which is my understanding of AI also, as much as I am understood that I think the real, of course, there's a lot of value in infra plays also, but I think we are an application play. And I think the real value is in very thick applications that actually are driving significantly superior outcomes. So I think that is something that's been happening with us. And what all of this has led to, which I mentioned in the beginning, that our AI truly now has crossed that inflection point, which is...
Are you an AI company?
Yes, absolutely. In fact, our new name is SquadStack.ai.
And in fact, I would say...
Oh, sorry, there's a flavor in the season, in the market where every company says we are AI.
Yeah.
Right.
Are you true AI, and what does that even mean?
So I would say pre-Gen AI also, we were one of the leaders in AI itself, right?
Absolutely. So pre-Gen
So
AI...
are you a wrapper or are you a thick application layer in AI is my question.
Right. No, we are very much, I think as Rohit said, I think from the beginning, see, first of all, I should also tell you that both Vikas, Kanika and I, all three of us are all like engineers primarily and product folks, data folks. So when we entered this industry also, we came with that lens that, okay, how can we make things much more smarter, technical, so from the beginning, but we were also very obsessed with the problem, right? Not just doing AI because it's fun. So we had to actually use a lot of real AI before these words like Copilot came. We were the largest Copilot in the world because we were managing tens of thousands of people across India who are sitting in their homes and managing their work, etc. Right? And today also, again, all of that DNA has really enabled us to DNA of the organization. Plus, I think the data that we were sitting on and the enterprise relationships has helped us leapfrog into being a leader in this industry today. At least that we have the leading product and the highest volume of transaction and the largest scale.
What is the product?
So the product is very simple, that we are essentially your partner to drive your contact center interactions, and it could be a combination of AI or human, or it could be just AI, depending on the complexity of the use case. And we will help you across your customer journey. Since the time the customer will come to your platform, let's say I go to Tata AIG and I want to buy an insurance, I'll become a lead. From there, picking it up, figuring out, let's say Pankaj is the lead, right? So figuring out, okay, for a persona like Pankaj, what's the right channel, what's the right message, is it WhatsApp, what should be the right value prop. If I'm selling you, let's say, credit card, I wouldn't say 100 rupees cashback. I would probably focus more on international lounge access, right? So all of those things ensuring, again, like great outcomes.
And let me ask you a follow-up there. There are so many call centers around the world, including in India.
Correct, absolutely.
And there are large language models like ChatGPT and other platforms.
Right.
Can the call centers just take that enterprise platform, put a wrapper on it, and compete with you?
Right. Great question. I think first of all, actually, before that, I think why it's so exciting also, right, is key. I think a lot of that, it's almost $400 billion for the first time, is going to shift hands from these contact centers, traditional contact centers, into more like AI or tech companies, right? And the reason, at least, like for example, we have taken a stance that we never sell to contact centers. We do partner with them for parts of our delivery, but we believe that I think a tech or AI company will ultimately lead it. I think there are two reasons. One is, see, just a wrapper is not helpful, right? I think just a wrapper, any enterprise can honestly, they are smart enough now, they have great tech teams now, they can also do it. But that doesn't really solve the outcome, right? Like it doesn't solve, because see, enterprises cannot work on that 10% there is going to be issue, but like 90% all okay, right? Like you cannot work like that, right? You need to have that level of reliability. You need to drive like really good outcomes. So I think it's very hard to just build a wrapper. You have to build very thick application. And I think that DNA fundamentally changing for a large enterprise, I think is very hard, which, and history speaks for it, right? I think so I believe it will be very hard for these traditional contact centers, and of course we are betting very hard against it, and we believe that we will be able to own the market.
For me, one of the most interesting things have been, when we first were evaluating and doing all our product demos and team meetings, I think it is what you mentioned. The most refreshing part for me was that it was true disruptions, outsiders coming in, 3 engineers, product people, between Kanika, Vikas and you. The approach to this boring service-led industry was so product, tech and data oriented. That was the key outlier for me, and we remember having this discussion, in fact, very much, that this is Pankaj asked me this question, I remember. Is this a services company? Is this tech-enabled services? Or is this a tech company? There's nothing wrong with tech-enabled services. It's part of our thesis. We do it all the time. I remember, that conversation, and, we were convinced that we are a product and tech company. Which I believe that actually, in hindsight, that is what has set us up brilliantly for this wave of AI, because we were always collecting massive amounts of data. We were already solving problems like, how do we audit calls which were done randomly 5%, but with using AI, even pre-Gen AI. We were storing all of the data, on our servers, parsing them through. Already AI was picking up which are the more intelligent calls to, to go through for the supervisor and so on. And that high resolution data that we had, which we were also using to evaluate our callers and figuring out, how to match. I think that, in hindsight, has set us up that I don't know how much gigabytes or terabytes of high resolution data that we have. But I don't think, anything better could have happened to us than, the we are in the language business, the large language models. I think this is custom built innovation for us.
Absolutely. I agree with you, Rohit. I think often founders would just directionally want to move in a direction, and thankfully find partners who directionally would align that, this is how the world will move. I don't think any of us were so visionary we would say, LLM will get launched in this year and it's perfect.
I have a funny anecdote on this. Pankaj, I don't know if I've shared with you. Of course, when GenAI and all of this came, and we as investors on all the boards, this was the conversation, what's happening, how will it help us or disrupt us, threat, opportunity, everybody is trying to figure out. Obvious conversations with us as well. I think that single innovation of LLMs actually made us realize, I think in hindsight, how much we underestimated our own data. I remember the first board meeting after that, Apurv and Vikas saying कि हम कर रहे हैं, हमारा सबसे better है, but अभी time है human plus AI करते हैं. 1 month later, when we came on the call, you said, no, it's better than what we thought.
Right.
Maybe we can do, it's not 5 years out, it's probably 2 years out.
100%.
The next month when we got on the call, they said that it is so good that we have started to show it to our customers, but we still feel that they like seeing it, but probably adopt it later.
Right.
The next month when we met, they said it's gone into, pilots and it's actually better.
Right.
But Turing test will never be passed. You can still figure out, whether you're talking to a machine or not.
Correct.
And maybe, at some so hence only few use cases can be done.
Correct.
2 months after that, Apurv was calling that I'll stop making judgment calls on time. Correct. Our models are, better than we ever imagined within 6 months.
Absolutely.
And I think now last 2 months back, we had this call that probably we have passed the Turing test
Absolutely,
as well.
we have.
In fact, Apurv shared a couple of conversations with me.
Right.
And it took me 40 seconds of conversations to figure out which of the two was,
Right.
It was brilliant.
Yeah.
Right.
I've seen some of those examples. A lot of our portfolio companies who are using your AI product are going crazy about it.
Wow.
We know that.
Right.
We've told you a little bit about that. So I think we are super excited about the future, man.
Right. Thank you so much, Pankaj and Rohit. No, absolutely. I think we also kind of underestimated the acceleration of Gen AI, and I think you said it's perfect. I think it's not a great idea to think about timelines or plan for years in this world of Gen AI, but you're correct. I think we kind of underestimated, and grateful and definitely lucky also. Yeah.
Now let's move to a fun rapid fire segment. Why should India's top AI or engineering talent join SquadStack?
Because I think we are doing the best work in our vertical. We are beating global benchmarks, so you should absolutely join SquadStack. Also, we have a Goa office, so people who are affected by the H1B issue and they don't love the quality of life in other major cities, we have a cheat code. So we are attracting like some of the top talent from the world to join us.
What would be SquadStack's mission in a single line?
Hyper-personalized interactions for every consumer.
What's the first thing you look for when evaluating an AI startup?
It has to be the founder fit with the market, as well as the structured data where that is coming from. That is the true moat in an AI business for me.
What is the biggest strength of SquadStack?
I think besides the founding team, the passion and the mission that they're driving to transform an extremely large global industry.
Why did BII bet on SquadStack?
Is the tech and product first approach to this services market.
Which AI use case excites you most right now across your portfolio?
I think SquadStack and what they're doing definitely is up on the charts.
What's that one lesson from NGO Fuel or eWaiter that still guides you?
Building. I love building.
What is BII's biggest strength in backing founders?
I think their true founder Dhanda DNA, and I think people say that founder DNA, etc. But I think just like actually they themselves are that people. I think they run the fund, they take decisions like how founders or CEOs operate companies, and it's a company itself, it's not a fund. So I think that is just like that, you just cannot buy that trait. I feel it just comes from within.
What's the biggest myth about AI call centers?
I think the biggest myth that many people share about this is that spam calling will increase with bots calling. I have a completely 180-degree opposite view. I believe it will become sharper, it will become shorter, it will become to the point and much more personalized, which will help the consumer as well.
What is that one founder habit that signals long-term success to you?
I think obsessive kind of passion and view around trying to figure out clients and consumer success. And number two, making sure that their team is equally motivated and wanting to build these great businesses and be part of the journey.
What is that one client metric you obsess over?
ROI.
Which sector will AI disrupt the most in India in the next 3 years?
I think it will begin with the call center business itself. It's at the heart of it.
Will AI kill jobs or create more of them in India?
I think both will happen.
What's that one investment principle you rely on most today?
What can be the upside over a 10 to 15 year period?
What's the last thing you asked ChatGPT?
I actually updated the agenda of this podcast with my memory of ChatGPT, that what would be the right questions to ask.
Apurv, thank you very much for coming over here. Thank you for letting us being part of the journey. I think Rohit and you interact a lot more. I come in from time to time, but it's been a great journey. And I think from BIS side, we are super excited.
Thank you so much, Pankaj, for having me. And I think I've been seeing like videos of this podcast, so I'm really happy that we are also now here.
Absolutely, we can't do the session without, sorry, the season without you.
Great to have you here, and I'm looking forward to the next episode, given where we stand today and
Perfect.
the culture of the company.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.